Welcome back to That Is Effin' Weird. As the title states, we got a top 10 mysteries of Tennessee. I'm your host, Alex. I know it's been a while since you've probably heard my voice. Last episode that I was on was the fishbowl one, but I've been at school, had a new addition to the family. I should be back more often than not now. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for listening. And with that being said, I say let's just get right into it. We're gonna crack these mysteries wide open. I will say this though, spoiler alert, some of them are solved already. I think it's just the circumstances of the events that happened make it kind of weird. I mean, shit, the show's called That's Effin' Weird, so that makes sense. So we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna start with number 10, the strange death of Blair Adams. So the story goes that Knoxville, Tennessee, and by the way, this is from www.onlyinyourstate.com. We did the Pennsylvania one not too long ago, and we pulled this information from the same site. Great site. If you're listening to this and you want to know a little bit more about your state, I suggest going into that website and typing it in, or you could just wait because we're probably gonna hit all 50 states eventually, so you can wait. And that's where we're getting the information. But continuing, number 10, Knoxville, Tennessee was the place of this heartbreaking and strange murder. Blair Adams was found amongst scattered international currency in a parking lot in July 1996, and his death was confirmed to be due to a severe blow to the abdomen. The strangest part about this whole thing, in the days leading up to the murder, he took all the money out of his savings account and attempted to cross the Canadian-American border. After being denied, he crisscrossed the country before becoming stranded in East Tennessee. His worrisome behavior may point to a deeper issue that, like in the case, remains open-ended. So with this first one, right? Blair Adams was just found dead in a parking lot in 1996, and the cause of death was a blow to the abdomen. Doesn't really say anything else. Foul play. Now here's the thing, right? Says that he was in a hotel parking lot. How long was he in that hotel that someone could have seen him with a large amount of money? Granted, it doesn't say the location of the hotel. That would actually be pretty interesting to look into, because there are some shadier, hotels, motels, the ones that you probably don't want to stay at. The ones that crack dealers are always at, and shady stuff is going on. All I'm saying is that that's probably where he ended up. Oh, hey, hold on one second. Hey, Clark, are you there? Clark looks like he's joining. We're gonna take a quick pause. But like I was saying though, is that to me that could be a clue to this whole mystery as far as like where he or what happened. Is that the fact that he was probably at a shady hotel room, and then someone saw him with a large amount of money, and they saw the opportunity. Yeah, so today's episode, I'm doing the top 10 mysteries of Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the first one that I went over was of Blair Adams. In a nutshell, it's only about a paragraph. There's 4 or 5 sentences. It doesn't really go into much, but I'd like to hear, before I tell you what I think, I don't know if you heard what my thoughts on it were. I'm going to read it to you, and then you tell me what you think might have happened.
Okay.
So in Knoxville, Tennessee, Blair Adams was found amongst scattered international currency in a hotel parking lot in 1996. His death was confirmed to be due to a severe blow to the abdomen. The strangest part about the whole thing, in the days leading up to the murder, he took all the money out of his savings account and attempted to cross the Canadian-American border. And that is the only information that they have on this murder or this mystery. So I have a theory on maybe what happened, but I'd like to, if you have anything going on, I want to hear it.
Well, I'm curious about your theory, but I also don't want to bring any unnecessary heat down on myself, but does yours possibly have anything to do with the mafia?
No, no, mine is very simple. I think.
Okay.
Do you want me to tell you mine?
You think you got just hit by a car or something?
No, no. I mean, kind of on the same. I guess like maybe like that. Is what I think is that I think he stayed in a shady hotel, right? And somebody saw him with like a bunch of money, or like was like he made himself an easy target. And I think again, I don't know I don't know the details of the actual murder, but I think someone saw him with money. He was in a bad location. Someone killed him, took the money, and then ran. Because it says that the currency was scattered, so maybe like they were struggling. Maybe it wasn't necessarily supposed to be like, murder for the money, but like there was a struggle for it, and maybe socked them in the kidneys just the right way. Something happened. So that's my theory.
Did they see it was different currency that wasn't useful to them, and they were just like, "Oh, this is monopoly money."
Yep, exactly. It could have been something. Yeah, who knows? So that's my theory. I think it's very just like a robbery gone awry, or just something like that.
So obviously, well, Seth might not be as familiar with this area as I am, but this is where my family's from. Is this area? So my dad is very familiar with this area, and in the mountains, especially around Sevierville and Pigeon Forge and outside of Knoxville and places like that, and even Chattanooga and places like that, there's a lot of mafia ties. The reason for that is this is where they would go to escape heat. So a lot of the moonshiners from like the 20s and stuff like that, when organized crime was real big. I mean, obviously it's like still a thing, but when we're talking about the Roaring 20s and then through the Depression and stuff like that, a lot of the moonshiners out of Tennessee would be shipping their product up to New York and Chicago and places like that, and they would get a lot of connections with a lot of these like crime bosses and things like that. And then in turn, they would also use the Tennessee hills as protection for a lot of their guys. So like John Dillinger, Machine Gun Kelly, not the rapper, the same.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
But, Babyface Nelson, a lot of these guys that were like hitmen for the mobs, a lot of the famous gangsters and stuff like that. This is where they would go down to escape heat. So when there was a lot of police heat on them, they would go down to Tennessee and they would hang out with the moonshiners. So Kentucky and Tennessee were a lot of the places where they actually like let stuff cool off before they could go back up north. So this is where they would hang out. So John Dillinger in particular, I believe it was John Dillinger and Machine Gun Kelly. I can't remember which one now it was. One of the famous kind of gangster hitman guys. I think it was Machine Gun Kelly because he was more of a hitman than John Dillinger was. John Dillinger was kind of his own guy. I think it was Machine Gun Kelly. Was known to actually frequent places of like my dad said we've got pictures of relatives with him like in Tennessee just hanging out when he was like cooling off and stuff like that. So like there's a lot of those tales of like that's where they would go because it was like the moonshiners are supplying product. They also supplied protection and safety because no one was going. The only people that went up into the hills was like the IRS, like the tax guys at the time, before there was an ATF. The tax guys would go try to hunt them down, the moonshiners and everything like that. And so you get gunfights and things like that. But that's where, like I said, a lot of your like crime guys, your 1920s, 30s mobsters they go get cooled off in Tennessee and stuff. So Knoxville's not like immune to that whole lifestyle. So the fact that a guy is down there and he's drawn a lot of currency out and he's trying to get to the Canadian border, maybe he crossed the wrong people. Maybe he had some friends that would put him up for a while and maybe he got whacked.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is like I doing no prior research into any of this. Again, like I have no idea like Blair Adams' background, where his connections are.
That's all speculation. I don't know the guy at all.
Yep. And that's just the thing is like that's a very good theory. And maybe through some of these, you like that connection with like the mafia, it might make sense to a couple more of these stories. Now, again, I told the audience beforehand, some of these cases are already solved. I think like 4 of them are already solved. But the ones that are just kind of like still in the open right now, it'll be interesting to see if the mafia thing comes into play anymore.
Yeah. Well,
that's good theory.
Yeah, history tidbit, and you never know. Like I said, don't know what the guy's past was. I don't want to besmirch his name or anything like that, but I mean, like I said, it's not impossible.
This next one is I don't know. It's kind of weird, but it's Captain. It's let's see here, Captain D's tragedy. That's what they're calling it. So in July of 2000, in Tennessee, was the stage for an awful murder. An apparent robbery gone awry at the local Captain D's left 3 fast food workers dead. One, William Sneal, was found dead in his car, while Scott Myers and Brian Spate were shot and left in the food cooler. In late 2001, 2 suspects were charged with the premeditated murder regarding the case. Again, this one's not really a mystery. This one's kind of like open and closed. I think they're just, the website or whatever is just saying like, hey, this is kind of a weird circumstance. Not too much to say on this one. So, I mean, unless you have anything want to say about it.
I mean, just other than when you have cases like these, a lot of times it's they say it will be a mystery, quote unquote mystery, but usually it's because there's someone there that's so completely removed from whatever it is. Because most crimes, the person knows, like the victim knows the perpetrator 90% of the time. So usually it's like, it becomes like a mystery when it's people that's random, and it could have been a tip off of like there's like a big score or there's going to be a lot of money in the till tonight and stuff like that, and like a guy who wasn't supposed to be working the shift traded shifts with someone else.
Yeah.
He gets killed, and then all of a sudden it's a mystery. It's like, why did this guy get killed? He had nothing to do with it, and it's
exactly. You saying that kind of reminds me of the movie Mr. Brooks, when Dane Cook is like riding along with him, and he's like, what if I want to kill my boss? And God, what's his name? The actor
Kevin Costner.
Yes, thank you. He looks at Dane Cook and he's like, you don't kill people that you know.
Yeah,
like that makes you a prime suspect.
Yeah. Everybody is first, second, third removed from, like, that is literally 95% of all crimes.
Yep.
That's why there's terrible stories of like people who get accused of crimes and end up not being a suspect at all. Like husbands always like there's the story,
always the number one.
Oh man, there's the story though of the guy that the guy broke into the house, killed the wife, and shot the husband in the head, and the bullet went through his eye. And so like there was no visible bullet wound, but he had and he was all confused and dazed, and the cops took him in for like 8 hours of interrogation and didn't take him to the hospital.
What is that? What is the actual thing? I remember that.
Yeah. But he died, and basically afterward, when they finally took him to the hospital, he ended up dying. But like they had him under interrogation for like 8 hours instead of taking him to the hospital. He had a bullet in his head.
So okay, with that, do you really can you blame the cops? Because I mean, if there's no visible evidence, because a gunshot wound, there's clear markings of a gunshot wound. If you don't see that, and because there was bruising, wasn't there? There's like a little bit of.
There had to be. I mean, even in his, it's weird because you have his mug shot, because they took a mug shot of him when they took him in.
Okay.
And you can't. His eye is just droopy. Like he's got his left eye is just kind of drooped down, so you wouldn't think really there was anything like going wrong with him, but he actually had like a bullet wound in his head, and it was like. But I would just think that EMTs would have, first responders would have done something further to I don't know. I've seen weirder things happen ballistically, so.
You are right.
And not really react. So,
God, this probably wasn't the best thing to look up. I'll try to.
You probably got a lot of filtered things.
Yeah. I'll try to
see.
Yeah, I'll try to find it later. We'll dig more into it because I do. Yes, you saying that, I do remember that story. It does ring a bell.
Yeah.
But all right, well,
back to people that can get wrongfully, I guess, or once again, like I said, it sounds crazy, and we're not trying to encourage serial killers out there, but yeah, killing random is the only way to your best chance of not getting caught. So
yep. All right, number 8, the Cheryl Holland story. So Joe Sweet and Maddie Harvey disappeared from their Tennessee homes in early 1991. Just days after the vanishing, their home was set on fire, and their niece, Cheryl Holland, suspiciously disappeared. Her husband went to confess that both she and him murdered the couple for money. The bodies were found in the trunk of a car in mid-April. Thankfully, this awful story has a sweeter ending. Not even an hour after the story aired on Unsolved Mysteries, Cheryl was arrested in Texas. So from what I'm gathering... Okay, so Cheryl Holland was the one who killed those two. It was Sweet Joe and Maddie Harvey. Okay, that makes sense. So this girl named Cheryl Holland killed Sweet Joe and Maddie Harvey. And again, it's nothing like it's not unsolved. It was already solved. But I will say that though, that I remember because I think it's on Netflix. It's Netflix or Hulu. The old Unsolved Mysteries from like the early 90s. At the end of almost every other show, there's always the unsolved updates, and like it's this person was captured, or like the reward. So I think that, to me, that was great, like this unsolved, because they would have cases like this on the show, and because it was such a big hit of a TV show, people were getting caught. And I think that's awesome that like that TV show was so big that it was able to do that to help solve crimes. And it was even, I think it was like at the end of the show, the not the narrator, the host of the show was always like, if you have information, call the Unsolved Mystery hotline. So that, I think that's pretty cool. I don't think there's anything like that to nowadays. As far as like a,
first off, shout out to legendary Robert Stack. That was the host, by the way.
That's his name. That guy was the best host.
It was amazing. Also a Transformers voice. So give him credit where credit's due.
Wait. He's the really?
He was a voice for Ultra Magnus in the Transformers 1986 movie. So yeah, Robert Stack. He's also in the movie Airplane. So he did real acting and stuff too. But
that's right.
But no, absolutely. One of my favorite voices of the 80s, 90s. And that show, Rescue 911, and what's the one with America's Most Wanted. That one really set down the precedent, I think, because that's the Adam Law and everything about kidnapped kids and everything, because the host his son was kidnapped and murdered. So that's why he got into that.
Really?
Yeah, that's how he became an advocate for that, and like got actual congressional change for like certain laws on like first responder, like, or response to like kidnappings and missing persons and things like that. So
good for him.
Yeah. So yeah, those are 3 big ones, I would say. And America's Most Wanted went way late, so they kept doing Unsolved Mysteries. Dennis Farina took over for Robert Stack after Robert Stack passed away, and Dennis Farina passed away actually a few years back. And but they did a lot of when he was the host, they kind of rehashed a lot of the like segments that were never solved from the Robert Stack years, and then they had new ones. So I thought that was always cool that they did that. Kind
of like a refresher, like, hey, don't forget about this. We're still,
it's still a thing. So
shit, it makes you like, see, here's the issue with like the internet and technology is I feel like just normal, because like in the 90s, like computers and like the internet was really not a thing. It was like the television was your source of like all entertainment and like getting the news. Like that was the hub, was the TV. And I feel like there's nothing nowadays that equates or is like you can compare to like the unsolved mysteries, to like the help finding, you know, missing people. Like granted, there might be a TikTok, there might be like an Instagram, there might be something dedicated to like missing persons. I'm sure there is, but it's the hype. I guess that's what I'm trying to say is like there's nothing like mainstream, like, because that's again, like I can't think of anything TikTok related or, you know, whatever. But I bet you if you were to like say unsolved mysteries in the 90s, everyone would be like, oh yeah, I watched that show at 8 o'clock every night in my living room. So it'd be cool to see something emerge nowadays that has the same effect. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Even in just, I mean, the past 12 months, look at some of the big cases that have blown up because of stuff like TikTok and Twitter and things like that, like the Gabby Petito case, and then like the Idaho 5. Yeah, like all over that, and then oh gosh, and I forget her name, the girl that was murdered down in Mexico. She went down there with her friends for like, and then like all the friends got under a lot of suspicion because it was like, well, there was two different cases actually. There was the 5 people that went down there, and she went missing. Everyone like was like, oh, why did like, and people were saying like, oh, she didn't really want to go down there and all that kind of stuff. And then there was the case where it was like the 3 friends who went to Mexico and they thought the cartels killed them inadvertently, like thinking and then the cartels turned over the people that they said, oh, they killed. Yeah, there's that case where it's like, yeah, it's like, sorry, we killed 3 tourists. We thought, you know, and they turned over the people like that killed them. They were just like, these guys messed up. Look, justice, we're taking care of it for you.
What a mind trip that.
I know.
Oh, what?
Well, I mean, because they don't want extra heat for no reason. I mean, that's not, you know.
Yeah. There was a video circulating on Reddit maybe like 6 months ago, of 2 guys driving. Like they went down to Mexico, and they got lost on like some back roads. And like they have like, you know, the dash cam where it's like you can see the driver and the passenger. Well, they had one of those going, and like they're stopped on like this dirt road in the middle of nowhere, and like 2 pickup trucks like surround them, and like guys with AK-47s come out, and you think it's going to be like one of those like gore videos where it's like, all right, everyone in the vehicle gets shot up. But no, like the complete opposite. Like one of the passenger just starts bawling, and he's like, we're lost, we don't know where we're going. And you know it's the cartel, and it's like, what's gonna happen? But they like, the guy's just like, it's all right, you just got to turn around, go the other way that you came. It's just like, what? This is yeah. It's like, all the stories that you hear of like the cartel just like no mercy and everything. It was just a very odd, you know, things could have gone a lot worse than what they did in that video. So it's that you just saying that just kind of remind me of it. But
like, yeah, this is a very like lighthearted version of this, to like boil it down. Have you ever seen the movie Gone in 60 Seconds?
A long time ago.
So there's a scene in that movie though where one of the guys steals a Cadillac just because it's on the side of the road and brings it back to the shop or whatever, and he's like, look, I stole this car myself. And they're all like, you stole a car that wasn't on our list? Why would you steal a car that was on our list? Like, because it's like now people are looking for something missing that's not. Yeah, like, we don't want this. Like, and that's what the cartels are doing. You don't kill someone who's not like, you know what I mean? Killed 2 Americans that were lost on a back road in Juarez. No, turn them around and say, go north California, you dumbasses.
I'm sure that's exactly what it was like. Oh, terrifying situation. But all right, going on to number 7 though, is Georgia Tan. So Georgia Tan was a Memphis woman with a mission, a dark mission. It was between 1924 and 1950 that she scammed, manipulated, and brutally pursued poor mothers persuaded poor mothers to sell off their children to her. Yes, you heard it right. Sell. She had a ring of adoptive parents for the children she could provide, eventually serving all 48 states. Well, there's 50, but whatever. This was back in 1924.
Well,
She erased.
Sure, she couldn't afford to ship babies to Hawaii and Alaska.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But she erased the children's histories and sent them to wealthy families that could afford the higher bills. The awful thing was that the living conditions left many of her wards sick and even dead. A large majority of these children ended up seeking their birth families later in life. That's messed up.
Yeah,
That's really messed up.
Yeah, well, gosh, you as a new father should also be like, that's one of the most creepy things to me is how, when I hear hospital stories, like people that are corrupt in hospitals, or even just mistakes where babies are swapped and things like that, like really, that's crazy to me. That is just insane. Like, talk about a clerical error of crazy magnitudes.
Right.
Or, or even twins getting separated and things like that. Like, oh man, yeah, that messes with me. That's crazy.
Yes, that's actually, this is a kind of a throwback to one of my favorite horror movies, or I guess, I mean, it's horror thriller. To me, it's more thriller, but Misery. Annie Wilkes in that movie, like she worked on the what is it, the infant ward part or whatever, and she was killing babies. That just makes that movie that much more like creepy, because it wasn't until later on, like being much older, that I understood like why like Annie Wilkes was so messed up and like so crazy, and it just made it more creepy. It was probably when I actually got into high school that I actually paid attention more to the movie. But yeah, there was actually I want to say there was a Canadian woman not too long ago that essentially did the exact same thing, was like just purposefully killing babies. It was just like, what, why, like how, like I just don't get that. Like I don't know, it's messed up. And like to like take someone's kid, here's the messed up thing about that is like she was preying on women to sell her their children. Did I say that right? Sell the something like you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but like that's, especially because in 1924. Correct me if I'm wrong. That was like when one of the depressions was going on. Correct? Like the big one. This
is actually Depression. 29 is the stock market crash. So this is
a little bit before that.
Now, what she could have been doing is, if this is 1924, it could have been, I mean, was this in America? This is in America. You said 48 states. So, which you were right. There weren't even 48 established states yet in 1924. But, but possibly widows and things like that. You got World War I casualties, things like that. You got a lot of guys coming back that even if they were survivors, they were pretty messed up, things like that. So, maybe, this is not necessarily Depression era yet, but it's, this is roaring 20s when America is actually booming economically, but you still had a lot of people coming back that, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer kind of situation.
Yeah.
So
I just like props to like any detective, any police officer back in the day that could solve crimes. Like it must have been a headache, to like solve crimes back then, as far as like, because like you really were relying on just like hearsay and eyewitnesses. That was your biggest thing. And like to find somebody or to like, convict somebody, because there were no videotapes, blood evidence still wasn't a thing. Imagine how many crimes we probably could solve if they would have just held on to evidence. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure there's some cases where like they might have. Again, I don't know. But I just, it's, I mean, I guess since it wouldn't be like properly sealed, I don't know if it'd still be good, but I don't know. I think it would have been tough back in the day. So
Yeah, you just hope to get a confession.
Yeah, right. All right, well, we'll go on to number 6. On March 7th, 1991, Pauline George came home from work and settled in for the evening. She took a shower, then went through her mail and donned a house coat. Her body was found in the basement 3 hours later. Her boyfriend found her body brutally beaten and stabbed multiple times. No money or jewelry was missing from the home. The case remains unsolved, and the Knox County Sheriff's Office continues to keep it open. See, that one is weird. That one is strange. That's like okay, so like again, like no money or jewelry was missing from the home. To me, when like things like that are said, it's like, how do you know money and jewelry wasn't taken? Like, could she have? I mean, I guess it's one of those things where it's like, okay, all of the jewelry is located right here. Why wouldn't they just take all of it? And like all the cash was right here. Why wouldn't they take all of that? So I don't know. This kind of reminds me of the Night Stalker. It's on Netflix. It's a good documentary if you want to watch it. But one of the things that he said was he would just break into houses that had open windows and doors. There was no rhyme, there was no reason, and that's why he killed his victims, or that's how he picked his victims, was just open windows and doors. Could this have been the same thing, do you think?
Possibly, and I'd be curious to know if there were any other similar crimes like around the time with the same MO and all that kind of stuff. Now, I missed something. You said was the boyfriend in the shower when this happened? Is that what you said? Or
her boyfriend found the body. Okay. I think she was home alone at the time, and then it said she was found in the basement 3 hours later. Her boyfriend found the body.
Okay, I just heard something about like the shower, and I was like, oh, no, that's all. You said something about like she took a shower, or he was taking a shower. That'd be even creepier if he was in the shower and that happened.
Oh, can you? I think the guilt of that would just be so much more, to know that like you were home, you were there, you could have done, like, I just feel like that might, to me, I feel like that's the guilt that I would have if something like that were to happen, where it's like I was in the home. I didn't hear anything, but I could have stopped it if I just would have like taken a shorter shower, like what is it called? The victim, I think it's called victim guilt or something like that. So
survivor's guilt. Yeah.
Survivor's guilt. That's what it is. Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'd be curious about that one. That seems like there's more to that for some reason. I don't know.
Now, do you think this one could be mafia related?
Yeah, I don't think this one is.
All right, going on to number 5, Joe Shepard. So Joe Shepard, when the beautiful Roxanne Woodson disappeared in 1978 from Telco Plain, Tennessee, there was an uproar. Joe Shepard was eventually connected to the case and attempted to shoot his way out of an arrest later that year. He was found in Ontario, Canada, after escaping from prison and given a life sentence. His strange stalking of young women and subsequent violent outbursts left the community in a state of unease. I don't really understand this one.
Yeah, it just seems like a short, so he was a known stalker, and
I guess
violent personality if he had a shootout to.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess what's up?
I was just saying, what was his original crime? What was he on this list for again?
It doesn't really say.
Stalked a bunch of people, or did he kill one in particular?
Okay. So Roxanne Woodson disappeared in 1978. So okay, that's what it's for. So like apparently Joe Shepard kidnapped Roxanne Woodson, or was in connection with the disappearance of her in 1978.
And he ran for the border.
What's that?
And then he ran for the border, like all these people do.
Yep. And I guess that's pretty much just what it is. Is like he would stalk young women And yeah, it doesn't say if the body was ever found, if like, because it just says he was connected to the case. It doesn't really say if he was like, you know, an accomplice to the person who actually took the young woman. To say like what happened to her. Just says that she disappeared. He was connected to it somehow. So.
All right. People, it almost feels like maybe he just ran because he was like knew he would get blamed for it regardless.
I think, yeah, when someone like, it kind of reminds me of the show Making a Murderer, where I forgot the guy's name in it, the guy who ended up going to jail, but it's just like, yeah, I feel like communities just have sometimes like those families where it's like, oh, that's the bad family, stay away from them, where it's like they have a stigma or something like that. Mm-hmm. It could just been, same thing with him, just there's a stigma around maybe the shepherd name, and he had nothing to do with it. But I agree with kind of what you're saying, like I don't know,
once a villain always a villain. So
yeah. Let's see here. So this one is number 4, the murder of Kevin Hughes. All right, so Nashville's Cashbox magazine lost a great researcher when Kevin was found murdered by an unknown gunman. He was shot in his vehicle with his friend who survived the attack. Suspicious clues led investigators to take a look at his co-workers, one of whom was Richard Antonio. They dug up incriminating evidence that Antonio was accepting money to boost music artists on the chart list, and Hughes found out, leaving the desperate man with a murderous mind. Antonio was charged with first-degree murder and will not end up on parole until 2036. So to me, this one's actually kind of recent. But I don't understand that. Like, to me, that's almost like the Chris Watts thing, where in his mind, the only thing to do to start over in a new life is to murder his whole family. It's just like, I don't understand why some people are like, okay, the only option I have right now is to murder someone. That is like, how just leave, or, pay the fine, or like, just like, all right, you get fired. You have to start from the ground up. It's better than spending the rest of your life in jail. I just don't understand how like people are like, gotta kill somebody now. Like, I don't, but I guess that's just what, murderers think. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know what you want. I can't get behind that. I'm too vain for that. So I tell people if I need to get out of here, like I said, I'm just going to sell everything and be a bartender in Marrakesh. I always joke around like Casablanca. I'll just play it again, Clark. I'll just be on a piano. I'll be on a piano in a bar in Casablanca. Just
nice. It's everyone's dream.
That dollar will go far in Morocco. Don't worry.
All right, number 3, medical mystery of Cheyenne Izome. This one, I read this one a little bit beforehand. This one actually is really strange. So Memphis was given a creepy medical mystery in the form of Cheyenne Izome, a young woman complaining of severe eczema, with scabs forming all over her newly skinny body. Her and her family were becoming desperate. The diagnosis, an unknown skin condition that caused her body to produce a massive amount of skin cells, the overproduction causing her to grow fingernails on her body instead of hair. John Hopkins has taken over the baffling case and hopes to ease the young woman's pain and confusion. So to me, this one is ongoing.
That sounds like the tree disease.
Tree disease.
I forget what they call it. The fibrosis, where people, you grow basically scales over instead of, well, it looks like scales, but it's almost like tree bark on instead of. It's because your skin cells like hyperactively produce like calluses. It's not a form of cancer, but Yeah, I don't know what the easiest way to look that up is, like tree skin disease, but it becomes a thing where, yeah, you like it'll start with almost like a wart growth, and then the warts kind of multiply until your whole like body, like they get them on the face, the legs, arms, everything, and it just exponentially grows out of control.
Well, I will say this. I actually just looked up a picture of her, and it's not as bad as that. I'm not downplaying her condition by any means or whatever. But it, to me, it's, I would just look it up. Just if
What's your name again?
Cheyenne Isom. So SHAYANAISOM.
So I know the tree, like whatever the wart disease thing that the tree called the tree disease, which is really bad if you saw the pictures of it. I know that is some kind of hyper version of like HPV almost.
Yeah.
So almost like herpes and things like that. And I wonder if that's still not something similar because it's very scaly.
Yeah.
Localized. So I only saw the picture of it on her cheek and stuff. I didn't see the. I don't know. That's all I can think of though. Is it'd be something, similar to that.
I'm looking up the tree disease thing right now, and that would be terrible.
Yeah, like the only relief those people have is like the cut off excess amounts and stuff, like surgically have some of it removed just because of the weight it adds and stuff like that, because it just grows exponentially.
Yeah. And it seems like what it does with the tree disease one, it seems like it attacks people's hands, like their hands and their feet.
Starts with your extremities and nose, like your cartilage and stuff. The ears and nose get it first before it actually starts. Even the eyelids and stuff, like that would really be painful when you get it on your eyelid and stuff.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's like the shittiest version of Wolverine. It's like I don't need to regenerate right now, guys.
I don't mean to laugh,
but it is. It is.
But that, to you saying that, right? Just like I always think about like if Spider-Man was anatomically correct.
Yeah.
like shooting webs out of his ass, not his hands. You saying the whole Wolverine thing, just a shitty version of that. Yeah, but if you, the audience member, I suggest taking a look at, maybe not the tree disease one, but like that one is very interesting. Again, I'm not downplaying her condition by any means. It's a mystery. I hope they figure something out. Yeah, it's that was a good one for this list. Number 2, in August of 1992, a sad time for the Roberts family when Martha Doe vanished from her home. Her husband was then threatened over the phone. A large ransom of $100,000 was demanded for her safe return home. It took a year, but sadly, Martha was found murdered. The suspect, Charles Jackson Lord, an associate of her husband that had a large amount of debt. Her body was buried under a compost heap, and she was believed to have been dead only hours after the initial abduction. That one's kind of sad. Again, It's solved and everything, but I don't understand how someone has. Okay, maybe Clark. Has anyone ever gotten away with a ransom? Like, give me $100,000, and like then I'll return them, and then they get the money. Like, that money can be tracked. Yeah, money has like a.
Barely has that ever worked ever, and so a couple of things that I have thoughts on this. So one, like you just said there, she was presumed dead just hours after the initial call. That's normally the thing, is like if you have a ransom call, the person, I would never have hope that the person's still alive. I know that's pessimistic, but they're playing on your emotion that you're actually going to get your loved one back, when in reality, it's probably not true. Nor maybe if you even pay, are you going to get them back. Or if you are able to make some kind of transfer and it actually work out good, because they're normally going to tell you, don't call the cops, don't call the authorities, or, and if the authorities are for some reason involved, then it might turn sour and it might go bad. So it's like, there's not really a lot of good positive options. That's why the biggest takeaway is, if you are someone who is, being abducted, don't go with the person. I know that sounds simple and crazy, but actually, this is actually real world advice. If someone says trying to carjack you, someone's trying to do something like that, even if they have you at point blank range, gunpoint, saying, come with me, get in the car, don't ever do it. Scream, make noise, do whatever you have, because the person is more likely to get caught or run away. Even if they shoot you point blank on the street, it's better than if they take you to a secondary location. If they take you somewhere where they have you in private, your chances just went to almost zero. If you are on the street and someone holds you at gunpoint and says, get in the car, scream, make noise, you will have witnesses. That will make them more uncomfortable, make them more likely to get caught. Even if they shoot you on the side of the street because they're unable to get you on the car, at least you've got witnesses, you've got proof. You can now possibly be a witness. Never ever let a person take you to a second location, ever.
I think that's, when your adrenaline is going and it's just like you're not thinking. I think that happens in a lot of situations, especially if like someone's holding you at gunpoint and they're like, get in the car. It's just like, okay, hey, don't shoot me. Okay, I'll just do whatever you say. I think it's really easy for like people's knee-jerk reaction just to like listen to whoever. So yeah, that's I didn't even think about that till you said it right now, is just don't go with them, because again,
it's different. If someone says I want your wallet, give them your fucking wallet. It doesn't matter. It's a wallet, right?
Yeah.
You can cancel credit cards. You got what, $6? Nobody uses cash these days anyway, whatever. Give them the wallet. If someone says get in the car with me, don't ever do it, because you're dead.
Yeah. And that's true too, for like they must want you for something. So they want you alive, not technically dead. So if that's actually a kind of a good point, is that they're probably not gonna. Now again, I don't know like most of these stories, like why did it happen? Like the woman that took a shower, and then was up in the basement 3 hours later dead, like no suspects. Like people do weird stuff sometimes. So, but yeah, that's actually, didn't think about that. So,
but back to this guy had a lot of debt. I wonder who he owed all the debt to. Was this another mafia story?
Mafia. There we go. Now, this last one, I know for a fact has nothing to do with the mafia. And I hate this. You know what I'm going to do? I'll tell you what I thought about after reading this. I'll tell you, I'll tell the audience, I'll read it. It's our last one, number 1, The Bloodstained Crypt of Nina Craig Miles. One mystery that continues to plague Cleveland, Tennessee is the grave of Nina Craig Miles, killed at age 7 by a rogue buggy. The little girl was buried in honor in the local cemetery. Almost immediately, blood stains appeared on the whitewashed marble of the tomb. The community was horrified, but no matter how many times they scrubbed the stains away, they would return. Unsolved mystery, or just a message from the grave? We may never know. That's it. That's all there is to this one. What are your thoughts? And I will tell you what I thought immediately after reading this.
What was the material? Is it marble? What was it made out of? Does it say?
Yep. Marble.
Man. So on marble, water stains on marble can resemble dried blood. So I wonder if there's like a grooves or something, like some kind of wear in the actual stone itself, to where it looks like it's like handprints running down, and it's literally just I just threw husky hair everywhere because I was petting my dog. But I wonder if it's like a water stain that actually holds that. So as opposed to something like granite that just kind of molds.
I'm trying to look up what you're saying right now. The marble and like water stain.
Because like when granite tombstones they mold over time. They kind of get this like dark greenish gray. But marble can get like a burnt reddish tint to it.
Ooh, yeah, you're right. You're right. I just found a picture that kind of resembles. Yeah, there's a red, like red hue, red color to it. Huh.
That's my only scientific guess I can come up with.
Clark, you might have solved this mystery. I think that's what it might be. Huh. Cool. And now, do you want to know what I thought of?
Let's do it.
All right. I in no way, shape, or form did I help solve or like anything or any way or I thought of South Park, the Virgin Mary episode, when I read this, and it's horrible, and I shouldn't have. But do you know which episode I'm talking about?
I've seen every South Park episode, and I'm trying to remember which one it is.
It's the one where like, Stan's dad has a drinking problem, and then the Virgin Mary like starts bleeding out her ass. Like,
is this an early episode, or how early is it in the season?
This is probably like season. Oh, if I had it's probably anywhere from like 11 to like 14, somewhere in there.
That's like the sweet spot. I would think I would know that one, and I can't remember it.
He shaves his head, and he's in a wheelchair, and he's like, "I'm powerless," I
And that is the Randy Marsh golden years between like season 10 and 15. So
yeah,
really between like season 10 and 20 is like the golden years of Randy Marsh.
But yeah, I think your explanation is way better and the way better thought process than me. So thank you, because I actually think you might have solved this mystery. But that's all 10 of them for Tennessee.
I can't believe they didn't have the Blair Witch on there.
Is the Blair Witch from Tennessee?
Not the Blair Witch, sorry. The Bell Witch. Sorry, Blair Witch is Maryland.
Bell Witch. What is the Bell Witch?
Bell Witch is very famous. Even Andrew Jackson believed in the Bell Witch. So it's kind of an old lore Tennessee mystery from the early days of colonial era up to the 1830s, 1840s. Kind of by the Civil War, it kind of fell out of favor and became more of a local thing than a national thing. But it kind of really drew a lot of attention because Andrew Jackson was from that area. So formerly Adams County, Tennessee, which I think is now consolidated into modern day Knox County. Yeah. There's a cave called the Bell Witch Cave. And there was this old crone apparently that lived there that had poltergeist abilities to like haunt and possess and terrorize the families around the area. And the reason it's called the Bell Witch is because the Bell family was the one that was haunted by it. So there's a movie actually with Donald Sutherland and I forget who else is in it, called An American Haunting, around the early mid 2000s. An interesting movie if you want to see a good theory on the Bell Witch. But I find it fascinating because my dad grew up literally a stone's throw from that cave, and he's visited it like all through his childhood. Like that was like kind of their childhood dares. They would go to the Bell Witch Cave.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, it's kind of a personal one too with the family, but it's pretty famous like American. Like I said, they made the movie An American Haunting based off that because it's kind of one of America's oldest legends.
I'm gonna have to. Maybe we could cover this in October for like the spooky month and everything like that, like just witches. We could go over this one too. I'd like to find out more about it. Maybe Seth knows more about this one too.
Yeah. And like I said, it's fascinating too, because Andrew Jackson, who is normally known as like one of our most hard-lined presidents ever, like no nonsense, no bullshit kind of guy, he believed in the Bell Witch. He claimed to have like seen its like power and was like scared of it. So
jeez.
There's even a character, they actually put him in the movie An American Haunting as a cameo.
Oh really?
Yeah, so it's kind of like funny that like, yeah, Andrew Jackson, like one of the most feared American presidents ever, actually knew and wrote about and like acknowledged the Bell Witch. So
well shit, yeah, we're gonna have to dig more into this. I'd like to know more, but yeah, that was all 10. Do you have any final thoughts on the list that we actually covered?
Yeah, I mean, it's more true crime than anything. I think there's a lot of mysteries in Tennessee, and there's a lot of ghost stories, a lot of rich battlefield stuff, Civil War things. If you're into ghosts and hauntings and doing battlefield tours and things like that, there's a lot to take in the state of Tennessee. So, and not just that, but cryptids. I mean, you're in the Smokies, which is the southern end of the Appalachians. So, a lot of cryptids and stuff there, a lot of stuff to think about. So I'd encourage listeners to actually look up kind of their own Tennessee mysteries, because there's a lot more to actually take in than just true crime. I mean, there's definitely a lot of true crime, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting things. The topography is crazy, and Tennessee is so wide. Covers almost 3 time zones. You think about it. It's great from the Mississippi all the way to the Appalachians. It's a wide state. It's got a lot to offer, topographically and history wise. But yeah, that's really where I'd say, check out all the mysteries, not just the Civil War history and some of the early, kind of early pioneer history, really, early gold rush stuff. Because there was actually originally northern Georgia and into Tennessee, gold rush was the first real gold rush. But then, Native American history, things like that. There's a ton of lore and, like I said, a ton of cryptids and a ton of things to actually look into. So yeah, if you're into mysteries, not just true crime, you want some weird stuff, Tennessee is definitely a place to start looking at.
I'll piggyback off that. I'm kind of surprised, or I would have liked to see on this list some more than just like the true crime stuff. Maybe the next top 10 that we do, we figure out, or we look into maybe some different sites with like different mysteries, kind of maybe do maybe not a top 10, maybe a top 5, like go a little bit deeper into each one of these, because I feel like I did have a lot of questions, like with even the first one, the Blair Adams, like, was it the mafia? Was it just a rundown motel where someone saw him? Like, maybe getting some of these answers, when we're in the show and everything like that. So just kind of deep dive a little bit more. But yeah, it would have been nice to see a little bit more variety than just true crime. But true crime is still good. Yeah, that's probably all I have. Those are all my thoughts. But for you, the audience member, if you enjoyed what you listened to, make sure you hit up all the social medias. We got plenty of that stuff there. We actually have our t-shirts and everything like that are out. I'm not wearing one right now, but because it's in the wash, because I wear it so often. But we have the merchandise if you like to support us that way, or if you just want some cool That's Effing Weird stuff. It has some of our logos, as some of the thumbnails on YouTube videos. But if there's anything that you'd like to see or hear, just let us know. Before we sign off, Clark, do you have anything for the audience?
Thank you for listening, as always, and take care.
All right. And remember, we don't want stuff that's normal. We want stuff that's effing weird.